Hello! Well, today we are finally going to take care of that problem that, well, it's been affecting Motavia a lot for certain, and possibly Desolis as well. We've been sidetracked a bit, we've been delayed a little bit, but now we're finally heading out. That is a nice launching animation, well, for its time. Nice bit of art for that ship, too. Now this dungeon, I think this is kind of a step up in difficulty. It has lots of robots, and I've already talked about those a little bit. And there are a few other mechanics that we're gonna see, too. I think these are probably the easiest encounters we're going to deal with here. They're not robots. They hit kinda hard, but they're also fairly easy to deal with as long as you don't use anything that's extremely unreliable, like I just did. I'm actually not sure what these guys are weak against. Not that it especially matters. But I just remembered what's around here, and making Rika more tanky as well as resistant to lasers is an excellent idea because of encounters like this. If you don't know about this ahead of time, you are in for a bit of trouble. Well, you're in for a bit of trouble anyway, but, well, give it a minute. Yeah, in this dungeon we're dealing with enemy combination attacks. And that is a laser attack, so that saved Rika quite a bit of damage. Therefore, Chaz is the only one who took a lot there, and that makes the long-term resource drain of that sort of thing a lot easier to manage. Because Ren can just automatically recover from most of that, and the others have high magic defense. Well, now that that's explained... Oh yeah, and those guys are fast. It's very unlikely that you'll have anyone move before that combination attack starts, especially if you haven't been grinding. If you have been grinding, there's a good chance you can get Rika to throw in a double slash and kill one of the satellites before they move. For a strategy like mine, defense is very helpful. Anyway, I made a mistake last time. Now, usually when I neglect some detail about previous games, my brother will just address it next time he shows up as a special guest star, but this is important enough that I need to correct it right now. About Tyler. So what I knew about Phantasy Star 2 was, in the Western version, your characters get rescued from the prison satellite before it crashes into Parma by the pirate Tyler. And this is not what happens in Phantasy Star 2 Japanese version. So I thought Tyler wasn't in there. I was wrong. Tyler does do something to help you out, sort of. Your characters are still in the satellite when it crashes into Parma and everyone dies, and then Tyler scrapes up enough pieces to clone everyone on Motavia, I think. Now, being cloned is how you recover dead characters in town, and the philosophical questions that arise from such a thing are definitely on purpose, given the rest of the things we know about that game. That being said, it's a little bit silly. For one thing, there assumedly were a lot of people on Parma when it was destroyed. I have no idea how one would sift through all that and just find the player characters to revive them, because I don't hear about, well, quote-unquote revive, because I don't hear that happening to any of the other Parmanians. The other thing is, granted, Genesis graphics are a little limited, but still, the display it shows is not Parma being smashed into pieces by the huge satellite. No. The entire thing goes up in a gigantic planet fireball. I am not convinced that anything whatsoever can be salvaged from that. And that's why I tend to prefer the Western explanation of things. Well, going back to this game, as I said, there's enemy combination attacks. I believe we're going to see some more stuff later on. However, the long-term resource drain of this is not as much of a problem as it normally would be because, as I said, Raja is on our team. He takes a paltry amount of technique points to fully heal someone. So, as long as you're fairly smart about what you're doing, if you recognize what attacks the enemy you're using and equip accordingly, you're pretty much okay. For example, I bought a silver shield and put it on Raja, even though that means he won't attack, because his attacks are pathetic anyway. Yeah, nothing really different happens. I just thought that with an attack like this, it's worth looking at more than once, because it's actually really cool. It also shows off that if I had been gutsy enough to try a double slash there, I actually would have succeeded in interrupting it. So, in the occasion that you play this game yourself, I guess that's a hint for you. Well, this way we also get to see how that middle thing acts when it's not prepared for its combination. So that's pretty neat, I guess. And this being a technological dungeon, we get treasure chests, including armor for Wherein, and I believe we've already seen a new part to install for Wherein. About the Highjammer. Now, the Highjammer inflicts what is effectively sleep on robots, and it's useless. There's really no saying otherwise from my perspective, because after it's inflicted on anything, there's a high chance for the target to wake up between rounds, and it's not 100% success rate by any means. So, and Wherein is not all that agile, so, well, one sec. Let's see what happens when the enemy is fully prepared like this. Well, you know what's coming, sort of, but let's show it off anyway. Considering all that build-up, I thought it would deal more damage than that massive laser attack that we saw before. Well, technically there is an encounter where the enemy starts off fully prepared, so I won't complain too much. Well, that probably counts as a physical attack, so Rune and Raja would have taken heavy damage if I hadn't equipped them with shields like a sane person would. And that just about concludes anything I have to say about game mechanics for the time being. I think that we finally got a fully functioning party, and I don't know. Well, I will talk about this dungeon layout though. like most of the dungeons we've seen before, it doesn't really have any sprawling dead ends, but there is something it does have that can throw you off, which is a lot of its corridors look similar to each other. So if you're not careful, you can end up going backwards a fair bit without realizing it for quite a while. And that can set you quite back a fair bit on recovery resources. And yeah, these guys have barrier too. They're called Siren, and Siren is an android character in Phantasy Star 3. Siren is not friendly. Whether or not you actually have to fight it depends on the story branch. But like most boss battles in that game, it's fairly easy, or at least fairly simple. So, how to defuse this air mine special attack? Well, that'll do it. Once again, unlike the laser combination attack, these guys are not ultra fast. And that is that. Oh, Gizan. Alright, I guess that'll be useful if we want a very strong blizzard or firestorm. I think it's going to be overkill against most random encounters that are weak to either of those elements, though. As for the Napalm Shot, well, as the name says, it is a fire weapon. There are places where that's useful, but this is not one of them. We got lots of robots here. Still, it's nice to have that thing for later. It would definitely be a shame if we missed it. Oh yeah, in addition to those giant laser combos, these Ren robots will occasionally use Flare Shot like that, which is also a laser attack, so it's very helpful to have Rika be strong against that. From the effect that I've seen of having resistance versus not having it, I kind of wonder if the way it's applied is the damage is cut by, say, half, and that's before defense is applied. I think that's the only way to explain it, because damage is cut a lot more than half. Ooh, wow. And his defense was not bad. And we finally see what Eliminate looks like when it succeeds. Oh ho! Oh ho! Rune gets his own instant death attack, and this one is intelligence-based. We've seen what that is like, but unfortunately that one does not work off technique points. It's a skill, so we aren't going to be able to use it a whole lot just yet. That'll take a few levels. Also, we are at the point of the game where Dimate is not as strong as our better techniques, so it's better to just use them outside of battle. It does cost a little versatility because, for example, someone who is not very good at healing could use them, and that would give more flexibility in battle, but I think that we're okay with what we have right now. If Raja wasn't in our party, then it might be a different story. That is the game warning you that you're about to fight a boss, and if you're not healed and equipped and whatever, you better do that now. Yep. Now, this is very startling. Well, it was very startling for me when I was first playing it, because, as I said, Dark Force is something you fight at the very end of the game, normally. It was the final boss of Phantasy Star 1, it was the second to last boss of Phantasy Star 2, and there was not a big separation between the two. So I thought, no, we're not beating Dark Force yet. This must be one of those battles you're supposed to lose. And I did not understand a few things, so Dark Force was very persuasive with that, using Burst Rocket. And then I found out, no, you're actually supposed to win. Now here it helps to know how buffs work. Ooh, that's a lot. Fortunately, we can ignore at least one round of that, because we're going to dip into some of Raja's other skills. One of which is Blessing, which is amazing, because those buff skills attach your mental stat to everyone's defense, and Raja's mental stat is way better than Rika's. No offense, Rika, Raja is just amazing. Probably no one has as high a mental stat as he does. And as for that miracle skill, which he has one of, well, it does that. There are not a whole lot of skills that heal and affect androids as well as biological characters, but there it is. And that's not even the most broken thing Raja can do. Don't worry though, we'll see that soon enough. And I'm not even talking about Saint Fire, although as a thing for him to do in an off turn, that's not bad. That deals holy damage. Now, holy damage in this game is... I consider it akin to holy damage in Diablo 1, in that if something can even be remotely considered a natural creature or a machine, it will take effectively no damage. It'll still take the minimum of 1 point, but whoop-de-doo. If, however, it is a dark creature, then it will be super weak to holy. Oh, hello there. Now, yeah, this thing is using mechanical attacks. Probably because it's attached to a huge machine, I guess. That's one of the things that changed between my first playthrough and this one. I didn't know how good Blessing was, so I just used Rika's Deban, and this took a lot more damage from Phonon Mazer. As for the damage I deal, well... Remember when oh, yes! Too many things are happening for me to explain it all. That's the last and most broken thing Raja can do. You notice that Chaz especially was running low on technique points from using all that Githu. Ataraxia! It restores everyone's technique points, including his own. That is the only skill in the entirety of the Phantasy Star series that can restore technique points out in a dungeon. It is, in my estimation, the most broken skill in the game. With this, you can spam everything. You can spam Raja's amazing heals, you can use expensive attack techniques, so in that way, Raja indirectly increases the damage that everyone can do throughout the whole dungeon, because Ataraxia is not exactly a one-use skill. Even when you get him, I think he has like 4 or 5 uses of it. It's amazing, and I don't really know why they allow you to have something like that. Not that I'm complaining. And speaking of Githu, remember when I said that Chaz damage deals... Well, okay, a lot of important enemies are weak to it. This is one of them. Anything that's considered a dark enemy like this is weak against Githu, and as you can imagine, as we advance through the game, we're going to face a lot of important bosses and enemies that are dark in nature. And down it goes. Man, I was dumb when I first played this. I was using crosscut the whole time. I didn't even know how good the Su technique series was. Well, we just beat Dark Force, I guess. Oh! Oh! That is a really big thing to say for someone who's played this before, because traditionally, Dark Force is a once-per-1,000-year event. That's not usually something you see more than once. Rune slipped up when he said that. Rune does not slip up very often. Although, if anything is going to make him slip up, I guess it would be Dark Force. Well, yeah. Uh-oh. So here's the thing about Raja. When Raja says something seriously like this, he is right 100% of the time. Anything that is not a pun that he says is correct. And we're going to go a little further into the implications of this as we go along. Some of what he says has very far-reaching implications that are not immediately obvious. So, if you're not familiar with the story, I'd like you to think on that for just a second. Chaz, of course, could probably go to Motavia, and that would be it because most of the Motavian problems would probably be fixed by this. But he, of course, being a hero type, he does not even consider such a thing. Same for Rika. And as for Rune, well, we're gonna see some more things about his motivation probably in the next episode or two. It's gonna be fun, I promise. I guess that just about wraps it up for now. Whew, well, thanks for watching. We will see you next time.